Let me guess. You're a straight male and you're alone and you get no girls, right? And this causes you to hate and shame women, view them different, alienate them, right? Which leads you to still approach them because you're still into women, but probably get called an incel and them not to like you for various reasons. This leads you to believe that all girls are the same and that they're the problem. So the next time you go and try to get a girlfriend or pull anything, you're still alone. You get no girls. This is a big problem that is hitting many young men, and I've seen it all over the place, whether that be all over the internet or even in person, where I hear this really weird hatred for women, despite the fact that they are into women and want to pull women, but just don't. It's a very weird and unique problem that Gen Z is facing, and I just consider it a cycle of hatred. That's why I depicted it right here as a cycle. Realistically, the problem is you. The problem is that you believe in this cycle. You believe that women are the reason you're lonely, but in fact, you are the reason you're lonely. There's many of happy men in happy relationships. And I think this is a problem that if you're dealing with it, you need to confront it within yourself. So I put together this list over here of incel traits. Traits that you may have that are making you an incel, right? And these are traits that I've gathered from many people with this sort of incel mindset that I've met in my life. So it may not be 100% accurate, but this is just what I notice. These people are usually very negative. They don't usually have good things to say about themselves or others, right? So certainly nothing positive to say about women. They're unsocial. They don't make extra efforts to meet new people, see new ideas, and understand perspectives more. They're not really emotionally intelligent. They're not logically intelligent. They're physically unfit. They're definitely not working out, making improvements on themselves. They're most likely going back into a video game addiction and watching videos to distract themselves from their issues and their reason for why they're not pulling girls. The next thing is they usually lack confidence. They'll never approach someone to talk, and they're never, make advancements to get themselves out of this situation. And then here are the worst parts about incels and why they're just ruining the world for other Gen Z people, because they're just bringing these waves of negativity. They're sexually obsessed. Most incel guys that I know are sexually obsessed. So they hate women, but they always talk about wanting sex. So their priorities are mostly sex, maybe because of their own ego or something that's hurt inside of them, but they're not really into women for women. They're into women for one thing alone, sex. And then the last but not least, they have no aura. So incels don't know how to dress. They don't know how to carry themselves. They don't even know what to even do in life to make themselves someone interesting that girls would want to approach. So if you have a lot of those traits, there's most certainly things you could do to, overcome them. You could go to the gym. You could read books. You could engage your mind in more positive things, right? Basic self-improvement could easily get you out of the situation you're in where women don't like you, right? It's not their fault that they're not into you. You have all these negative traits, more than likely. Improve upon yourself. I do understand, though, that it's not just a personal issue. I do think dating has gotten harder within this generation, in this time. And I do think there are changes that have been made to life overall. I hear constantly from men and people that I know saying things just as like women these days and why are women these days changed, right? And in my mind, it's not why have women changed, but why have people changed as a whole. You look back into the 90s and the 2000s, and you notice the difference in the ways just people talked to one another, dated, and lived. And I think as a man or woman, it's easy to blame the other gender for the problems that are happening. But if you talk to a bunch of people from the other gender, like when I talk to a bunch of women that I know, I understand that they're having the same exact issues as men. They're struggling to find committed relationships. They're getting cheated on. They're getting backstabbed. All these things that men are experiencing, these troubles in dating lives that you constantly hear. We don't need to reflect these things, these like hatred. Hold on, let me piece my mind back together. You don't need to express hatred because you're dealing with loneliness. You need to go out and talk to somebody. You need to make improvements to yourself or try to improve the people in your environment. If you keep reflecting hate, it does nothing because women are feeling the struggle as well. Women are hating back on men for similar reasons that you would be hating on women. Break these cycles. The same way it's a cycle in yourself to hate somebody else for a problem you're facing is the same way that women and men will consistently bring hatred towards one another for their problems. We all need to just come together and understand each other more, talk to each other more, and be more patient with one another, as well as be patient and wait for the ones that will actually matter in our lives. That about wraps what I wanted to say pretty much up. We need to stop hating women as men and start improving ourselves and just try to create a better environment for others around us. That is how we can fix the problems we face. If you disagree with me, please let me know in the comments why. But first, I would like for you to reflect upon yourself. As I said, see if you exhibit some of those traits of an incel and see if you can improve upon your own life. And thank you, men and women out there. Love more, hate less.